The Great Steppe, millenniums of events, hundreds of nomadic tribes and people. They lived, worked, made discoveries, conquered large tracts of lands, and left us some mysteries. To learn more about it, watch the project called Enigma of the Great Steppe. Who are we? Where do we come from? Scientists and philosophers have been trying to answer these questions for a very long time. Some mysteries are being uncovered through the study of history and archaeological discoveries. Other parts of the legacy were preserved only in the memory of mankind, which is in the form of myths, legends, and traditions. While creating those myths, our ancestors were probably trying to convey us part of the knowledge that they had acquired during their lifetime. Welcome to the mysterious world of the Great Steppe. When a person looks at the world for the first time, everything appears rather supernatural before his eyes. Nature seems like a deity, or it would be better to say that God inhabits all things, and every natural phenomenon is a direct influence of God. Myths were created and passed down the generations over the course of mankind's existence. It is difficult to overestimate the emotional effect caused by them. Even to this day, ancient legends and tales about heroes continue to serve as the basis for many films and musical pieces. It is interesting to know that there are many examples of similar themes in the mythology of different cultures. What do Greek Scylla and Joly's Kemper have in common? How did Cyclops appear in the myths of the Great Steppe? How is Tengri called in Iran and Polynesia?
Kazakh
folklore, like any other folklore, originated during ancient times. This complex and multifaceted system comes from prehistoric periods. It represents practices and beliefs of a community on the world, surrounding nature, and human society itself.
На окружающую природу, на мир, на человеческий социум и на человека.
Centralized set of myths is common for every ethnos, since they explain the creation of man and world. According to Turkic mythology, Tengri is considered to be the chief god who created all things. This is how our ancestors understood our creation. When the blue sky above and the brown earth below were created, between them a human being was created. Tengriism is a religion based on the cult of sun and sky. Kazakhs used to call this deity the Kok Tanrı. We had been worshipping this religion until the arrival of Islam. Tengri, along with his wife, Umay, brother, Yerkligu, was worshipped not only by Turkic peoples. Some believe that the sky god Tengri was related to hero Targitai, who is encountered in almost every civilization's belief. For example, the group of Indo-Europeans from the Bronze Age, known as the Hittites, worshipped Tarhuna. Ancient Persians believed in Triton, Celts had Teyrans, while for Polynesians it was Tangaro. Character of Tengri wasn't left unnoticed also by great Kazakh poet Mukagali Makatayev. The mountain of gods, where deity is shining at the edge. God is living here and is healing people's wounds. He thrusted his peak in the sky, like the sharpened chests of the great Tian Shan. It's interesting to know that Greeks who inhabited Lydia, the kingdom in Asia Minor, used to call Zeus Targinios. It is another reference to the Turk god. This way, once unconquerable Han Tengri peak corresponds to mythological Mount Olympus. If you look upwards and see a vast blue sky there, you will be immediately reminded of the great Tengri. On the other hand, if you look to the west, according to the mythological terminology, the West is the land of bad luck. I don't want to offend anyone, but it's due to the fact that the sun sets in the west. When people are being buried, they are placed facing northwest. Mistan Kimpir lives in the west while protecting the birds and animals. On the other hand, she constantly tries to harm the hero by attacking his comrades, switches babies at birth, and also uses various tricks and spells. In that sense, she reminds of Slavic being called Baba Yaga. Meanwhile, Mistan's sister, Zhayik-Nama's Kimpir, is usually associated with even more gruesome mythological creatures. The word Zhayik-Nama's means ravenous. This character sometimes appears as an old woman with 7 heads and also has some animalistic characteristics. In a way, it resembles Greek legendary creatures. While Zhayik-Nama's Kimpir is a multi-headed monster, Scylla, who is composed of dog and serpent, also has several heads. Each of her 6 heads devoured Odysseus' sailors, which means that she was also a cannibal, much like Zhayik-Nama's Kimpir. However, there are other antagonists in our folklore. At times, some of them are rather inconceivable for the Great Steppe.
Вот, например, в архаических эпосах врагами героя являются, во-первых, Жестернак.
Ancient epic tales tell us about Jibek, who serves as one of the main antagonists.
У нас есть...
There are also Devas and Daos. Dao is a monster of human appearance with prodigious size and strength, who mostly appears as a villain.
Иногда их называют Карадау, черный великан.
We've already mentioned sisters Zhayik-Nama's Mistan and Zhayik-Nama's Kimpir.
Zhayik-Nama's Kimpir и Zhayik-Nama's Mistan вы хорошо знаете.
Despite the fact that there are only a few mentions of them in Kazakh epos, heroes can also battle against Cyclops. In Greek mythology, Cyclops is a giant with a single eye in the center of his forehead. Do you recall the Cyclops Polyphemus who battled against the hero, Odysseus? The king of Ithaca wasn't the only one who had beaten the Cyclops. Bartirs of our steppe have also encountered these monsters. A hunter, Mergen, stumbles upon a Cyclops cave somewhere in the mountains. The rest is a retelling of the familiar legend. Cyclops devours his prisoners one by one. After he falls into a sleep, our hero hardens his sword in the fire and drives it into Cyclops' eye. In this occasion, the universal plot has been preserved almost in its entirety, word for word.
Так что здесь вот полностью сохранен международный сюжет об одноглазом циклопе.
Not only villains share some characteristics in myths and legends, but there are also similarities between heroes and heroines in different cultures.
У нас, значит, имеется эпос архаический, эпос классический, героический, эпос...
There are several forms of eposes in Kazakh folklore, namely archaic, classical, heroic, romantic, and historical epos. There are also epic poems known as dastans. All eposes feature Batir as a main protagonist. It is he who moves the story forward. The whole plot is built around him. The archaic epos is generally centered on a hero who protects his family, while the heroic epos usually features its hero saving his tribe. As for historical epos, Batir's quest is to protect his motherland, since it consists not just of a single tribe, but of a whole nation.
Народ, он защищает интересы целого казахского народа.
Что такое фольклор, устное народное творчество, которое имеет, понимаете, во всех народах имеет общность образов. Ну что такое была женщина?
What is folklore? It's an oral tradition that has common traits shared by many different cultures. For example, what is a woman? Among Turks, Khazars, Kipchaks, and Russians, heroines were portrayed as white swans because for them the swan represented a feminine symbol. It's because of its snow-white color and pristine beauty. Not surprisingly, this poetic imagery is common for many cultures. The same applies to a black raven. Because of its color and other features, it was considered a symbol of dark power. You can find out it yourself by reading the Viking sagas. This imagery was also very common for Kazakh and Russian folk tales.
Конечно, он и тюркской литературе характерен, но он и характерен и русской литературе.
On the contrary, the eagle is represented Bogatirs and Batirs, for he could always whirl up into the sky, meet his enemy, and eventually come out as a winner.
Конечно, это орел, ну, конечно, это ясный сокол. Ну, кто же еще, который может взвиться, победить врага и вернуться победителем?
From a scientific point of view, it is not surprising. Each civilization has undergone parallel developments in socio-cultural formation. That is why that hero stories from various cultures have the same underlying structure.
В науке есть такой термин «международный сюжет». То есть тот или иной...
There is a term called monomyth, which implies that hero stories from around the world share a common plot structure. It is not even necessary for different cultures to be within a specific geographical range in order to share common plots. In this regard, it is wrong to consider that everything originated either in ancient Greece or India. Many historians believe that the theme of the hero myth is universal. It occurred in every culture.
Многие сюжеты самозарождались у каждого этноса в отдельности.
In those myths and legends, people were trying to make sense of their existence and better understand the surrounding nature. Who saved the Turks from the Great Flood? Why did our ancestors believe in immortality? What magical qualities did Batir's horse possess? In the Bible, the world was saved by Noah. His vessel ended its journey at the foot of Mount Sinai, while people of Caucasus refer to it as Mount Ararat. Noah is known as Nu among Arabs and Kazakh people. Meantime, the mountain is called Kazikurt. According to our tradition, this mountain is located near the present-day Shymkent city. However, there is also another variation of the familiar story. Sky god Tengri gave a good man called Zhayik-Nama the instructions for building the ship from sandalwood. When the ship was built, Zhayik-Nama gathered everyone he loved around him, for Tengri had told him before. So enter the ship, you and your loved ones. You are to bring into the ship with you all living creatures, every bird and every kind of animal. Zhayik-Nama's journey lasted less than that of Noah's. After being afloat for 14 days, he ordered to open the tunduk, the crown of the ark. At first he released the raven, then a crow, followed by a magpie in order to find out what is happening outside. Only in his fourth attempt, when he released the dove, he was rewarded with good news. By the way, there's a folk song about Kazikurt mountain. On the top of the Kazikurt mountain rests the ship. A saint man prophet has sailed on it. An orphan camel used to live there. Since then, camels have been breeding everywhere. The song glorifies 4 species of domestic animals, namely camels, horses, cows, and sheep. But the main goal of our character was not to amass material wealth, but to prevail over the time itself by gaining immortality. Let's hear what the expert has to say about this. The idea of immortality has always been floating in the human mind. The Turks have found a way to live forever, which is in the form of aruaks, hallowed spirits of our ancestors. We don't die because there is an afterlife. When we accomplish a feat or when the Jirao sings an ode, our ancestors are looking upon us. They possess the ability to influence our fortunes, for they are still parts of our families. Because of this, historians say that people always try to accomplish great feats in order to always be remembered in history and by their descendants. Also, it is to become heroes in epic tales and legends. Veneration of the Arvaks among the Kyrgyz people is very strong. During most difficult times in their lives, they call out the names of their ancestors, like Muslims do it when speaking aloud the names of their saints. This way, every success is attributed to the direct influence of the Arvaks. Most often, assistance was asked for during the battles. It was not just a tradition, but it helped to encourage the warriors by adding them courage and fearlessness. When the battle is underway, actual people are fighting alongside the souls of their ancestors. Just try to imagine this. For example, I am riding into the battle, hooves are crashing. I'm filled with rage while riding towards my enemy, and I'm not afraid. And I start screaming, "Tope! Tope!" I'm full of excitement because when I scream, I feel how my Aruach enters me, thus giving me power and making me invincible. Every hero needs power. Otherwise, how could he withstand against a large number of foes mentioned above? There are stories where one Batur could fight with 30 or 40,000 army without any assistance. His only help comes from his wife and parents. The wife usually heals his wounds and warns him of imminent threats. There's a very polished and refined portrayal of wife in Koblandi Batir epic. His wife, Kortka, nurtures his horse, which is one of his main allies. She's also always present during critical times. Let's not forget that spouse also brings children who eventually become his successors. Speaking of animal assistance, a key role is given to his horse. Kazakh national consciousness, Zhigit is always accompanied by his loyal friend and ally. In this case, it's a tulpar. Horse plays a key role. Firstly, all horses have enormous strength. They're full of grace and are very fast, and cover a 90-day walk in just 9 days. They can cross the highest mountains and vast seas. They can indeed fly like the winged tulpars. Very often horses of famous and not so famous batirs have a gift of speech. They could strike up a conversation with their masters.
То есть они все крылатые. Очень часто кони известных батыров и даже неизвестных обладают даром человеческой речи. Они вступают в диалог с батыром, со своим хозяином.
Apart from that, legendary horses could often sense or predict the presence of the evil spirits. For example, they could see cunning and bloodthirsty Jalmauz Kimpir even behind the facade of a nice old lady who is asking for help. Among mythic creatures, there are also patrons who provide assistance for the Batir. All unexplained things or the things that people were afraid of were usually associated with mythical creatures or magical powers. How a creature such as Teyran could be possibly tamed? Why do demonic spirits fear of Russians' hair? Who keeps the order in the forest? It is a great miracle that the national eposes have survived to this day in their original form. The main reason probably lies in the way of life of our ancestors.
В степи, в кочевье, в условиях постоянно действующие, функционирующие.
Our steppe and nomadic culture, which is unique in its composition, has been able to preserve the original purity of its imagery, music, spiritual rites, and oral tradition. While in Europe, art first differentiated from crafts and sciences, then it went through classicism period, the search for new standards, constructivism, etc. Hence, it was constantly evolving. The fact that we didn't have any art forms other than folklore allowed us to preserve the ancient traditions. These traditions were passed along from one individual to another, or from one generation to the next. Children could easily immerse themselves into folk tales and ballads and ponder upon their reality for a while.
Они не нужны были. Ребятишки погружаются в этот особый мир, а потом по ночам они думают, что там за юртой происходит, что там в горах происходит.
Indeed, our ancestors had things to ponder about. For example, how to catch the Teyran, a black demon living in hollows and ravines. It was believed that if you pull out a Teyran's hair, it will serve and bring you the wealth, for only he knows where are the treasures, which are invisible to the human eye, and are buried.
И знаешь, много легенд существует. Одна из легенд такая, что, значит, охотник один шел.
There are many legends. For example, hear this. Once a hunter encountered a Teyran. They began struggling. Despite the fact that Teyrans are powerful creatures, the hunter prevailed over him and managed to pull out a hair. Teyran became obedient and started begging for his hair, since his soul was hidden in it.
Сумел вырвать волосок, и Тейран тут же стал покорным ему. Тейран начал волосок просить, потому что волос, там заключается душа.
Protection from evil spirits is one of the main themes in Kazakh folktales. It is interesting to know that shaitans and evil spirits are afraid of Russians' hair. Maybe our ancestors tried to explain it by this postulate. The unknown is always scary. On rare occasions, legends feature guardians of the forest known as tugrals. They are always remembered when there is a whisper of leaves and sound of heavy breathing in the darkness somewhere behind you. They are just closely watching after everybody so that no one will disturb peace and order. Our ancestors also believed in majestic mountain spirits. Kyrgyz and Kashgar people have told many stories about Syrt. They were referring to the sense of peculiar suffocation at that place. According to them, all men and animals became victims of tutek. This is how they used to call it. Word tutek means suffocation.
Тутеки — это горные стражи, духи горные. Когда, значит, приходил...
Tuteks are mountain guards and spirits. When crossing the ridge, people were suffocating. They thought that some sort of spirit wasn't letting them through. Why is that? It is because Tingri's treasures are buried in the ridge's caves. Actually, by the word treasure, I mean the spiritual knowledge. However, you cannot pass farther because the atmosphere is rarefied there.
Ну, как мы понимаем. Но народ говорит, что это сокровища Тенгри, и туда дальше нельзя подниматься, вы не можете, разряженная атмосфера.
Our researchers know all the names of all heroes and villains in legends, myths, and folktales. They're being portrayed not only in literature, but in film as well. Unfortunately, not many Kazakh folklore heroes have been portrayed on screen. Our folklore has a large number of demons. There are about 500 of them. I haven't even started talking about the number of deities and heroes. Our animators and artists should pay close attention to the archaic thinking of prehistoric, medieval, and modern man. As it turned out, they're doing just that. Local animators are working not only on folk heroes like Yertostik and Kultigin, they're also creating new original characters like Muzbalak.
Музбалак — это огромная птица Беркут. Птица Беркут, которая побеждает змею.
Muzbalak is a huge golden eagle who triumphs over the serpent. The serpent will return in the end of this film in the form of great Aydahar. There will be another battle between them. There's also a hero by the name of Akhtai. He befriends this golden eagle. Together they will eventually prevail over evil Aydahar.
Дружескую связь, и вместе общим усилием побеждают злого Айдахара. Казахское мировоззрение и в нашем фольклоре...
Our national worldview and folklore divide the world into three layers, namely the upper, middle, and lower layers. Upper and lower parts correspond to forces of good and evil, while the middle represents the man. Plot is built around this concept. Bird is above, Aydahar is below, and the man is in the middle. It will be very interesting to convey this idea to the viewers while using various metaphors. We should always remember that whole generations of our ancestors were brought up on myths. They learned from them not only about such concepts as conflict between good and evil, noble and cowardly behavior, but also about mundane and utilitarian things, like why it is forbidden to make noise in the woods and how to take care of your horse. Our mythology has a history of thousands of years. Many nations and states have since become extinct, while our nomadic folklore was being received, preserved, and transmitted orally from one generation to another. Epic poems comprise the most significant part of our cultural heritage. we are assigned with no less important task of preserving these legends, myths, and traditions in order to pass them on to future generations, so that our children and grandchildren could also enjoy and admire mysteries and myths of the Great Steppe.